welcome everyone. I am Serena Shadeen, the Executive Director at the Lloydminster Chamber of Commerce, and I am joined here with Dr. Kent Weir, owner at Weir Veterinary Services. So please tell us a little bit about what you do at Weir Veterinary Services.
Yeah, so I returned back home to Weir Veterinary Services back in 2014, and I worked just as an associate for 4 years, I guess. So I was a veterinarian working underneath my dad's guys, I suppose. And then in 2018, I bought into Weir Veterinary Services. So I'm now a part owner of Weir Veterinary Services and still a full-time practicing veterinarian as well.
Okay, sounds good. So what kind of education and training do you have?
So yeah, I personally have a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture from the University of Saskatchewan. And then which is a 4-year degree. And then once I finished that, I did another 4 years. I got accepted into the Western College of Veterinary Medicine. So that's at Saskatoon as well. I got accepted into WCVM, and then I did another 4 years after that. So I have a degree in animal science, and then my doctor of veterinary medicine.
Okay, so it's a total 8 years to become a vet.
Yeah, technically you have to have what they call 60 credit units of sciences before you're allowed to apply to vet school. At least that's what it was when I went. And you can fit 60 credit units. There's about 30 credit units per year of university. So you could technically do 60 credit units in 2 years and then apply after 2 years. A, it's pretty hard to get those classes all in 2 years, and B, they like some maturity when you're applying to vet school. So a lot of people, I think there's a couple veterinarians that I work with who've got in after 2 years, but the majority of us do have a degree before getting in.
So is it very competitive to get into vet school?
Oh man, yeah, vet school is I would think probably one of the most competitive colleges out there right now, which is kind of crazy, honestly. I don't think they ever thought that vet school would be this hard to get into. But yeah, it's definitely up there with one of the most competitive colleges currently anyways.
Yeah. So for people that, love animals, want to get into this line of work, but maybe aren't going to quite go that whole full vet route, what are the other employment and education options? Like you can become a vet tech.
That's right. Yeah. So essentially there's three recognized levels of veterinary professionals currently. And so you have your veterinarian, which we just talked about, and then your next level will be what's called a registered veterinary technologist, also known as a vet tech. Although they're trying to go with registered veterinary technologist as the official term. And then you can have a veterinary medical assistant, and they do have some veterinary office assistants as well. So and those are both 1-year programs, whereas the tech program or the RVT program is a 2-year program.
Okay, good. So also when you become a vet, are you a vet of all animals, or is it small animals, large animals? Do you have specializations?
No. So at this point, when you graduate vet school, you graduate as a general practitioner, which allows you to practice on any species and really do any type of work you want to. So you could be into reproductive stuff, you could do surgeries, you could do sports medicine, you can kind of do whatever you want, but you're a general practitioner. If you want to, you can specialize in any area now. I mean, the specialty areas are huge now, and so if you wanted to just look at x-rays and be a radiologist and interpret x-rays, or if you wanted to be what's called a pathologist, so you could specialize and do just look at blood work and tissue samples and that sort of thing. You could be a surgeon or an internal med specialist. You can be a rehab specialist. There's kind of everything under the sun now is kind of out. They even have ophthalmologists and cardiologists for animals now, right? So that does require, so after I would have done 8 years of school. After that, I would do what's called an internship. And so I'm going to a specialty clinic, kind of following around and helping out a specialist. And then I would apply for a residency after that. So an internship is at least 1 year. The residency for most specialties are 3 years, I think. So you got another 4 years on top of the 8 you've already done. So if you want to specialize, it's a lot of schoolings.
Yeah, sounds like it. So what is kind of your average day in your clinic? Like what kind of animals do you typically work on? Are you
Yeah,
out in the
that's
field?
such a good
Are you at the
question. I don't know if there is such a thing as an average day for a veterinary and like in any aspect. I don't know. I think, but that's kind of the cool part about being a vet, truthfully, is that like you don't know what's going to walk in the door or what you're going to do each day. But I think if I take you through my week, it would kind of give you an idea, like this week, anyways, like what happened. So like on Monday, I did a couple surgeries. I unfortunately put someone's pet down for them. I think there was a calving on Monday, so I pulled a baby calf on Monday. Did some vaccine appointments, did some routine appointments that way. Tuesday was a totally different ball game. I was out on farms all day, and so I did what we call breeding soundness evaluations on bulls. So before bulls get sold, people want to make sure they're actually going to be able to breed cows and that sort of thing. So I had 80 bulls that I needed to look at that day. So that's a full day's work, evaluating these animals, making sure they're fit for breeding. Yesterday I did the morning like that, and in the afternoon there was a couple calvings and a couple surgeries on some cats that I did yesterday afternoon. Today I did surgery on a dog's eye first thing, and then did some vaccinations, and then looked at some blood work on a dog. And I haven't looked at my afternoon's going to bring me yet. So for me, it's like that's kind of the reason I love veterinary medicine so much, is because it is unpredictable and it's all over the map. I mean, you got all species, all animals. Yeah, and I was on call on Tuesday night or Monday night as well. So it's like I work evenings sometimes and weekends as well. So it really is very unpredictable, which some people love, and some people it's just like very hard for them to live in a state of unpredictability all the time.
Mm-hmm. It sounds very busy. Sounds crazy.
Oh man, this is like, I think like what's really interesting is COVID has made veterinary clinics across North America like exceptionally busy. And I think partially because people are spending more time at home with their pets and noticing some chronic ailments that maybe they didn't notice before. There's like the COVID puppy phenomenon. Everybody got a puppy during COVID. And right now, because I work in a mixed animal practice, it's very seasonal. And so most cows are having their babies in the next 3 or 4 months. And so we're a lot busier with dealing with baby calves and pulling baby calves and, that type of thing right now.
So yeah, there's a lot of those standard animals you'd work on, cows, cats, dogs. What are some of the unique animals that you've got?
Oh man, I think that like we work in a really cool clinic because we do have some people who are interested, including myself, in some of the more exotic type animals or less common animals. We're seeing a lot of guinea pigs lately, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure why. Guinea pigs and skinny pigs. I won't leave the skinny pigs out. The hairless guinea pigs, for those of you who don't know. We see lots of them. We're seeing more birds lately as well. A little increase in the number of birds that we see. We obviously see some reptiles, ferrets. We actually have more and more ferrets showing up all the time right now as well. We do a lot of surgeries on rabbits. So yeah, we're all over the map. You get to see all the cool stuff. And then on the large animal side, like probably the most interesting one that people often think is we do a lot of bison work actually. So we see buffalo every week. We're dealing with some bison. So that's kind of a part of veterinary medicine that we probably do a lot more than some veterinarians do. But yeah, at our clinic we happen to see a lot of bison. So that's kind of cool.
Interesting. Yeah, that is pretty cool. So how did you get into this field? Like my assumption is, I mean, your dad owned the clinic. So I'm assuming that was a family kind of passed down. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, I come from a cool, it's actually kind of a cool story, quite truthfully, is like my grandfather and his brother and their brother-in-law, or my grandpa's brother-in-law, all went to vet school in Ontario at the exact same time. So all three of them graduated from vet school. Interestingly enough, all three of them had a kid that became a vet, one of those kids being my dad, and then my dad's cousins. Two of my dad's cousins became vets as well. And then me, and then my cousin is actually a veterinarian as well, and her dad's a vet. So there's actually nine veterinarians in my family. So that's a pretty cool thing, actually. And yeah, actually, I got asked recently if my family was involved in veterinary medicine, if this is where I would have ended up. And I don't know the answer to that, honestly. I kind of hope so, because I love it. I mean, I think this is like, personally think I was just made to be a vet. I love it so much, and I really do genuinely enjoy it. And I don't know if I didn't grow up in this building, like helping dad out and that sort of thing. I don't know if that's where my brain would have went, is that where I would have ended up?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So how long has Weir's veterinary service been in existence in Lloydminster?
Yeah, it's a good question. So my grandpa actually came here to work for his brother-in-law, which is the Creeches, and they just farm north of Lloyd if you're ever on Highway 17. So grandpa moved here to work for Uncle Frank Creech. And then he started his own practice just in his house, which was just kind of across the street behind Dairy Queen in 1952. And then it's a little unclear when this actual location became in existence, but it's probably like 1954, 55, somewhere in there, this actual location. There's actually a picture behind me on the wall here that you can see. Actually, yeah, that picture right there. There's a field right behind the clinic. And so this was the edge of town when we first built the clinic right here. So that was all farmers field. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. It's like pretty much darn near downtown.
Like honestly, you put an X across Lloyd, we might be the middle of Lloyd right now.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, super cool.
So I guess to kind of wrap it up, one of the last questions, what kind of trends do you see developing over the next few years in this industry? Like, do you see any sort of technological advancements changing the industry?
I mean, I think that COVID is going to change a lot of industries because we realize the potential of what we can do with technology, right? And so I think we'll probably see like what we call telemedicine a little bit more, right? So I think there's some apps that are developing out there already where it's like, you take a picture of your dog's lump and you send it and it comes in through an app. I do think we will see a little bit more of that probably developing. I think we're going to see a lot more. It's already happening on the diagnostic side. We're seeing a lot more tests available in clinic now all the time. They actually had this really cool piece of technology coming out like in the next months here. Without going into too much detail, if I was to take a sample from your dog, look at it under a microscope, but I'm unsure what the sample is. I'm like, I don't know if this is like, should I be worried about this? Is this cancerous or not? They have this new technology that you kind of slide into this machine and it scans it, all these pictures of it, and then it just fires it off to specialists all over the world. And so if you're like 2 a.m. and this is happening, it would get sent off to somebody in Germany and they would read it for you. And then they would give you their interpretation of what you're looking at. So that's kind of cool. Like, I think like the internet is going to allow us to get results quicker. And we already see that on the x-ray side, right? It used to be that when I was first started as a vet, you would dip your x-rays in a dip tank, put them up on that screen. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know what this is. You package it up in an envelope, mail it off to Saskatoon. Saskatoon would look at your x-rays and often say, oh, you took a bad x-ray, so you have to take another one. So, but now, we just click a button and it sends it to a radiologist like that, right? And hopefully within 24 or 48 hours, we have results back on an x-ray if I don't know what's going on with it. So yeah, I think that's probably where we're going to see the biggest trends, is just the use of the internet and those, digital images, I think is where we're going to see the most progression. I do think that like CT and MRI is becoming a much bigger thing in the pet world right now. Saskatoon has a pet CT now, which is probably one of the first ones. So I think that side, MRIs, CTs, it's going to grow as time goes on here. So.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything we missed today that you want to add in there?
I mean, I think if there's anybody out there who is considering going into veterinary medicine and specifically being a veterinarian, I think something to keep in mind, and I've actually been talking about this a lot over the past year, is that, veterinarians themselves aren't dealing with animals a whole lot, which maybe sounds like completely counterintuitive. But veterinarians ourselves, we're doing a lot of the people part of the work, right? And so if you bring your dog in, I sit down with you and ask you, hey, like, Serena, tell me what's going on with your dog. Like, give me the history here, right? And so I take that information in, then I bring your dog in and I do examine your dog, but then I make a diagnostic plan, right? So I'm like, okay, I want x-rays and I want blood work and whatnot. And so then I have a technician or a VMA who's going to go run all those samples, and they're the ones spending the time with the animals. Then all the data gets given back to me. I interpret that data, and then I have that discussion with you saying, here's what we should be doing. So I think something that I would like to get out there, like people to realize if they're considering veterinary medicine as a career path, is that you do need to be a people person. It's not one of those jobs where it's like, well, I don't like interacting with people, I'm not going to be a human doctor. I'm going to be a pet doctor instead. And I think that's a misconception. I do think that there is a lot of people skills required, and you do have to enjoy people because it's a very people heavy job. Yeah. So thing I would say is just, if you're really into the animal side of things, you maybe look more so at doing the registered veterinary technician or a veterinary medical assistant. They're certainly having a lot more interactions with the animals than I would.
Mhm. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, you bet. I really appreciate the time.